Thank you all for your interest in becoming a Lowell police officer. Being a police officer is not an easy job, but it's a very rewarding career. There are different opportunities within the Lowell PD once becoming a police officer: neighborhood patrols, mountain bike, Segway, boat, ATV, patrols, canine officers, detective positions, drug task force positions, school resource officers, accident reconstruction, traffic enforcement, and many more. We strive to increase our diverse workforce, and the first step in becoming a police officer is taking the civil service test. The mission of the Lowell Police Department is to continue building and maintaining strong partnerships with the diverse communities of our city of Lowell. We strive to work with our community to reduce the incidence of fear and ensure public safety. We do this while improving the quality of life for the citizens of Lowell. We want to help those interested in becoming police officers and preparing for the exam. Therefore, once the application period is closed, we will offer a prep class free of charge for all Lowell residents taking the exam. Now you will hear from Officer Mike Marshall about the exam and the LPD Academy, as well as his experience as Lowell police officer. Mike?
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming on. Currently, I'm assigned to the Lowell Police Academy as a staff instructor. I also help out in the hiring process. I'm a City of Lowell kid, raised up in most parts of the city by a single mom, and I went away to college, like I think some of you are right now currently doing. And myself, I didn't have anybody in my family that was in law enforcement, so I really didn't know all these steps. I took a misstep in my first thing, and when I was trying to become a police officer, when I came home from college, I just got a quick apartment and I signed up for the test, not realizing the eligibility for the residency. So even though being a Lowell High graduate, going through all the city schools, I didn't have the residency at first. I didn't realize that till later on when I took the test again about 7 years later. So it's one of these things that I think it's a real benefit for you guys, and you guys hopping on right now, showing your interest. We're going to go over some of these steps so that you can become a police officer here in the city. And I think the chief says, we're always looking for good people. I live here in the city. I have my family's here in the city. I love this city. And I'm always looking for more. I want co-workers that are going to, care about the city. So like I said, being a Lowell High grad, being raised in every corner of this city, I've moved around a lot of apartments with a single mom. And again, my first experience as a kid was DARE. I did the DARE program when I was a kid and kind of got to know the police officers in that manner. So I'm going to share the screen here, and I'll go ahead and start this PowerPoint real quick. Just give me a thumbs up, just make sure that everybody can kind of see that. Good, you can see that. So again, key is a couple key things are, and thank to the team upstairs in the chief's office putting together these things for you guys. The first things first, your application deadline, right? April 20th, you have to apply. Okay, the written exam is on June 12th. And again, you can if you're gonna sign up for just the municipality and the MBTA, it's only $100. If you want to do the state police as well, it's $150. Again, residency with civil service departments is a key thing. So if you guys are residents of Lowell, I would hope that Lowell would be your primary choice. And then you would put maybe some surrounding towns if you would like to work there. Again, the other surrounding towns that are around us, like Drakehead and Tewksbury, and like Lawrence, they also have residency requirements. So you would go, if you scored, you'd go beyond after them after the list. So you might sometimes, state police would take more of a from the Commonwealth. So sometimes people do put Lowell in the state police. But bottom line, the first step that you guys have to do is go ahead and sign up for the application. That at least gets you in the game, right? You got to that gets you the ticket. That at least gets you the ticket. And then I think Marianne will end up talking about it. Once you get signed up, they have the chief's office has another program, but you want to study for it. It's a very kind of general test to study for. So I don't really have those tips. I think the chief's office will give you some direction in that manner. but you got to at least get that ticket. Once you get past and you take the exam, that exam usually comes out in October-ish, September-ish. We'll get the results. At that point, well, okay, oh, I forgot to say this. There is, if you can't afford it, here is a waiver. And a lot of this information is on mass.gov for an exam fee waiver. So if you are struggling, I mean, right now we're in the middle of the pandemic, a lot of people aren't working. Kids like yourself in college, there's not that many different jobs out there. So if you're looking for the waiver, I would do that now, especially if you're trying to bank on that for April, just so you don't get past the deadline. Okay, so if that's something that you think you qualify for, definitely take advantage of everything that's out there at this point. After the exam, so this is, you've taken the exam. We now call, and I mean, we now call for a list for the city, and we have some positions to fill. And historically speaking, in the past few years that I've been here at the Lowell Police Academy, we hire anywhere between 5 and 15 people, depending on the budget. Again, like the chief already expressed, we're always looking for good people, and you know, of all walks in life to represent our great city, the city of Lowell. Right, that's what we are. That's the best part about the city of Lowell. So once we typically hire, again, that's upon budget. That's not the, you know, that just comes in through however that comes through. So, but you have to sign the list. So if you get an announcement in the card, you usually get an announcement or an email sent to your email that whatever email you filled out at that civil service is where you would get that announcement. So let's say you're a yahoo.com person right now, and then all of a sudden you switch to Gmail at the end of the summer or Comcast. Make sure that it's not us, it's not the police department that you would need to notify. You would need to notify civil service and say, listen, I took the exam on such and such a date. This is my new email. Can you please update it? We would have no way of knowing that because we don't even really see the list. The civil service that you take the exam with, human resource department, they send us who took it and in what order that you guys placed. Okay. So after you get that, you go ahead, you sign the list, and within 5 days of the business days of the announcement. Okay. And it's a lot of work. So when you come in to get that, there's a lot of work in regards to our application. Everything, and I always talk about this in the academy, first impressions are everything. Okay. So by you even filling out that application, fill it out neatly, completely, and within the time frame. That's going to go a long way for the people here that are evaluating you, for the community members that are going to take a look at you and have you part of the city and say, all right, this person's pretty squared away and really wants this position. They're doing everything. After your application process, it goes into a background investigation. After you get the background investigation, then you go into oral interviews. Okay. After that point, depending on the hiring cycle that we have here and how many spots we have available in Lowell, you might get what's considered a conditional offer. Okay. One thing that's a huge difference, and I see this with in this past year, is there's a new requirement, an additional requirement, and it's on mass.gov, as you got to take the physical fitness Cooper standard to get into the academy. So I know a lot of you guys, and just by a thumbs up, who's right now currently in the criminal justice program? Anybody in a criminal justice program taking it? Okay. But I always listen, I'm a huge control the controllables, right? Like if you're in this process, if you're physically fit, then there's less things to worry about, right? Like it doesn't cost much to get some running shoes, get on our streets here. I know, you know, even if it's in the middle of the winter or wherever the case is, you don't want to go through all these steps and then all of a sudden you can't, you know, pass one of those physical tests. That's a control. That's something I think sometimes a lot of kids, like all of a sudden it happens, you get the card, you kind of forgot about it and you're like, oh my God. And then you're playing catch up. So, and we talk about this in the academy a lot of it, you know, If you're in overwell, you have good overall health and wellness, that will lead to a successful career in police work. So it makes with good decision making and everything like that. So that has to be in your mind when you start hopping in this process. In every department, whether it's a non-civil service or a civil service department like ours, you're going to have to do a physical portion of that. Okay. Again, you have to do a medical, and there is another one which has been the one primarily used, and it's since I've gotten on is it's conducted by the HRD, civil service, in their physical abilities test, and that's like an obstacle course test. So they have that online. You can see that. The physical fitness test to get into the academy is push-ups, sit-ups, mile-and-a-half run, and a 300-meter. That is and you have to get, and that's a very national standard, and that's a 30 percentile you have to get in your age group. So if you're 25, you can find out what that number is. And then after the physical fitness and you get into the academy, then you have to go into an academy. And an academy typically runs between 22 and 24 weeks. We just got out of this one recently. We have another great class. We have some past class recruits here, or now officers here, that will speak with you a little bit. That's a nice 22, 24 week. It's a grueling process. It's academic, it's physical, it's time management. It's all the things that you need to be successful and safe on the road and be a good officer for the community. After you get out of the academy, then you go into an FTO phase. So then you actually go into a field training program after that. Again, we talked about this a little bit. The application, again, you want to be forthcoming and honest. Listen, we live in the city. There's some things happen. Just you want to be honest. You don't want anything to come out in a background that you withheld. Honesty is always the best way that's going to move you forward. Just because something as a juvenile happened with you, or that you'd rather just be honest in that manner. Again, you want to provide all your necessary documents, and definitely take accountability for anything you believe might be in question. Oral board interview. Anytime that you are getting interviewed for a job, and obviously I think you 11 or 12 that are on here today, you're taking initiative. That shows me good first impression that you guys are taking initiative to come down this path. Have a working knowledge of the city of Lowell. Even if you aren't from here, maybe you went to Lowell and you have an idea, or even like when I went in it, I was more of a Highlands kid. I didn't really know much about Centerville, and know a little bit about the city, a little bit about our core values and our mission statement to the community. So show up early, ready for your interview. Obviously, professional dress is always recommended. Like I said, look the part. Again, if you pass all these parts, the academy and FTO, you'll be a police officer in the city. So there's a lot of parts. We're kind of, I think like Marianne said, these other parts after the civil service are some stuff that we would go over with you when you got into that hiring process. I usually sit down with all recruits and go over this stuff with them. And from day one, when you sign that list, you would see me or you'd see another officer saying, listen, how is your shape? Because again, we lose out on good people sometimes because they can't get past that physical fitness part. Or you're at an academy, which is a lot of studying, time management, and you're very stressed out just because you have to run in the morning or do something else. And then next thing you know, your academics slip, right? So if you can control that piece of it, then your academy experience is a lot better. And again, this is a great job, but it also can be a dangerous job, and you want to be safe. And the more physically fit that you are and your overall health and wellness, the better decisions you can make, the better police officer you can be for the citizens here. So that's really all I have in regards to part of the testing and the hiring process. But again, like I said, your first thing now, as you're trying to get in, is in order to have the opportunity, you gotta get into that. You have to go ahead and sign up for the exam, um, and then take the exam. And again, in between now and then, try to study a little bit for the exam. I know you can, probably Google some stuff, and I think they have some advice on mass.gov. And I think Marianne will give you some more information about what we're doing if you do sign up for the exam. Marianne?
Yep, I do want to mention that I did post in the chat a couple of the links, one directly to the financial hardship waiver, another one directly to the mass.gov website that's going to give you the exam guide and the PAT requirements. Both are very lengthy documents, but it's going to give you all the information you need for those two things that Officer Marshall was talking about. And what Officer Marshall was referring to as well is once the application period closes, we will be sending out a notification through civil service to individuals, Lowell residents that have signed up for the exam to participate in a free prep class that we will hold. We hire a consultant to come in and we hold it free of charge for Lowell residents to help you prepare for the exam. Next, I'm going to go to Officer Johnny Sand to give us, tell us a little bit about himself and how he became a police officer.
So my name is Officer Sand. Obviously with the Lowell Police Department. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for attending this. You'll probably, some of the things I say will probably echo Officer Marshall's. But basically, you guys are on the right track right now. Going in the law enforcement career, it's a very rewarding career field. So for me, I've only been here for a short period of time. I think about a year and a half, but I've been fortunate enough to be assigned to the Neighborhood Action Unit. So I started in the law enforcement field a little bit older than most of the recruits that I've seen. I think I was 30 or 31. So this type of forum that the chief and the administration upstairs are doing right now is a great thing, because this was one of the things that was missing when I was trying to go through the process. Just to get everybody understanding what made me want to be a police officer. So I grew up in the city of Lowell. At that time, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was pretty much a gang infested community. So I grew up in the acres, and for the most part, all I saw when I looked out the window was, gangs, graffitis, violence and whatnot. So I was intrigued into being a police officer at one particular point, because my family owned businesses throughout the city. Nothing big, nothing crazy like Market Basket or whatnot. And I was sitting in the store, and it was robbed at gunpoint. And that was my first time actually interacting with the two Lowell officers. There were Officer Paul Corcoran and Officer John Pucelis, who's now has retired. They were kind of like the figure for me to get into law enforcement. But my struggle was that I knew what I wanted to be, but I didn't know how to get there. Eventually, through the course of looking into, the options and how to approach it, just like Officer Marshall said, he didn't have any family members in the law enforcement field that could kind of guide him into what to do and how to do and the steps that it was needed. I kind of did a little digging around. I didn't really have people to ask or talk to or anything like that. I was fortunate enough to where I applied for ULOL, and I started my career there in 2013. Went to the Lowell Police Academy, and then back in 2019, I finally got hired under Chief Richardson, and here I am now. It's pursuing what I always inspired to do. Serving the community. Hopefully being a good role model, especially to families, kids, and hopefully at one point able to convey the information that I've got and the experience that I've got, hopefully, to get some of these kids out of situations where, it could destroy their life. So just like Officer Marshall said, some of the advices that I've given to other candidates who've come to me to ask, what do I need to do? What should I do? You gotta basically focus not just on the academics, but the physical fitness portion of it. When you're going to the academy, it's actually very enduring. Most of the new recruits now have noticed that they're academically strong, but they're kind of they're kind of lack in the physical aspect, or vice versa. They're physically capable, but academically, lack in there. So you kind of need to be able to balance the two of the best world, because you're going to go into a stressful environment. You got to be able to deal with stress. I think physical fitness has a lot to do with it, because if you feel good about yourself, you're able to perform well. Not only that, you're able to cope with stress a lot easier if you're mentally and physically in good shape. So basically that's all I have for you guys, and I hope the best. Good luck with everything, and take advantage of all these forums that the chief and his administration is doing, because it's I wish it was something that I had when I was going through the process.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Sand. And now, Officer Andeth Van, if you want to tell us your story.
Good evening, everybody. Gosh, I've tough acts to follow when you're following Officer Marshall and Officer Sand. So I'll try to do my best here. But my name is Andeth Van. I, as you can already see, just in meeting two of our officers that come from completely different backgrounds, but are here and serving our community and our department very well. I am happy to share my story with all of you in the hopes that it would offer, just the same as theirs, some encouragement and from a different perspective. My intentions of getting into law enforcement stemmed many, many, many years back. Officer Sand spoke about how he came into this a little bit later in the game. Well, I got you beat on that because I came into the academy at age 39. And so I noticed that a lot of you, and I shouldn't assume, but appear to be much younger than me. But I still am happy to offer my story in the hopes that you are able to share it with others that may come along your path that are interested in coming into law enforcement as well. Because even though one may assume that this career is started, for most in their 20s, some in their 30s, some, and one officer in my academy went in at age 47. But I tell you, he was at the top of our class, just a beast in academics and as well as the physical fitness. And so I share that to just have it be in the back of your mind that so many things are possible. And if I had gone into pursuing this career with the mindset that I'm limited or that I'm defeated, I certainly wouldn't be here today to sit here as testament to all of you that it absolutely is possible. I would also like to share that, coming in at age 39, obviously my age, right, plays a toll against me. That was one of the difficult cards that I was dealt with. And so when you come into an academy where the majority of your class is younger than you, it is daunting. But for those of you, and again, most of you on here are younger than I am, but if you come across anybody that's older that is passionate about wanting to do this, you can share with them that physical fitness, as both officers have mentioned to you previously, is absolutely important. Thank goodness that I was already kind of in the routine of going to the gym regularly. I wasn't always a strong runner. I was way back, in my younger years. But at age 39, certainly that wasn't the case. But it absolutely is possible, but it was made possible for me personally because I started already being in that routine. So I encourage all of you to recognize that Physical fitness, it's never too early to start. I would actually even encourage at the very beginning of your process, from the time, if you are absolutely committed in this, to start the physical fitness regimen right when you take the civil service exam. Even if along your way, along your journey into getting into the academy, something happens, there's nothing lost. Physical fitness is always good for us, right? So that's something that it shouldn't be considered a loss no matter what happens along your path. Say, for instance, you decide that maybe this is not for you, and that's okay. Sometimes it's not. Your physical fitness will still benefit your own personal health. So I absolutely encourage that. What I will also say is that, as you all are probably very aware, the climate in which we are in today in law enforcement is tumultuous. And I will absolutely admit to you that it is difficult sometimes to put this uniform on, knowing what we have to go out here and face. And so while that's not, or that shouldn't be a surprise to all of us, because we know what's happening in the world right now, I really stress to you that if you're passionate about this, it absolutely can be a rewarding career. It is just like anything else that you pursue, anything else that you take on. It is absolutely what you make of it. And when you come into the mindset with the heart and your desire to really make a difference and to really serve, this career can do that for you. And it's not even so much about what you offer your community or what you offer your department. It's really what you gain back for yourself. And for me, I speak passionately about that because being a single parent, which is also another thing that I'd like to share with, with all of you, having these difficult cards dealt against me, and being a testament for you and others that this can still be possible as a single parent with children that are probably about your age. I have a daughter that's 21, my son is 20. They have had to really face some difficult challenges too, and the battles in which their mother fights, being a police officer in this day and age, have by default become their battles, where they've had to kind of fight their mother's battles for me. And so when Officer Marshall and Officer Sand stress and the chief as well, that not just for the Lowell Police Department, but for law enforcement altogether, where we really do look and essentially need good people. And by good people, I don't mean that you have to be able to run, a 9-minute mile or an 8-minute mile, or do 100 push-ups or 100 sit-ups. A good officer in this day and age, especially now, is somebody that is intact, really more up here. Obviously your physical strength is absolutely important, but your mental health, I think right now is so critical. The job is demanding, but I assure you that if you come in with the right mindset and your heart is in the right place, that it is absolutely a rewarding career. And there's nothing like walking through the community and having somebody that you assisted or that you helped a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, remember you by name, approach you and thank you for what you did for them, what you did for their family. Because let's face it, right? The majority, if not almost all of our calls, is when you're meeting somebody during their darkest and their toughest time. And so when the 11 of you that are here, recognize that there's 11 chances in these 11 individuals that can make a difference to that one person or the many people that you will come across. But your heart and your mind has to be there. It's not just about the badge. It's not just about being able to have, these tools on your waist, and being able to wear the uniform. It's far more than that. And if you're passionate and really have your heart in the right place, then I encourage you. Lowell's a great city. I will echo Officer Marshall's testament about being, a native here. I've spent most of my life here. It's the place that I will always call home. I have great pride and honor to be able to give back to it. And you know, I know that a lot of times we're kind of considered the underdog city, where crime is prevalent. But I also think that it's worth saying we will only see what we choose to see. So if we focus on, you know, those parts of the areas of Lowell that are suffering, that you know, that we need to work on, then that's all you'll see. But what I see in this city is diversity. I mean, just, you know, just looking in this Zoom, all of you guys alone are a testament of what the city really embodies, and that is diversity. Not just in, you know, the last time I did this, there was a majority of men that attended this. So I'm thrilled to see that some of you young ladies are here as well. So I I I encourage you just to really think about your intentions and your desire to want to pursue this career. I would absolutely encourage every single one of you to take advantage of what you know, the department is offering. I think Stacy, I saw you hold up your booklet there, which is great. That shows initiative. So I'm happy to see that. And even if this doesn't fall in your path for another few years, if you need to take the time to consider it, absolutely do so. It is a demanding career. You can't come into this haphazardly or half-heartedly. But if in the meantime, one thing that I can encourage you to do that will help you tremendously, which has really helped me, is get involved in your community. One of the things that made the transition from me to become civilian into a police officer is already being familiar with a lot of these organizations. I've done a lot of volunteer work. A lot of time was spent, you know, in a lot of the events and activities that the city holds. And so I encourage you just to partake in those. You know, get used to talking to people, approaching people, because that's essentially the majority of what we do in our job is to really make the contact with people. So I encourage you to do that. And I hope the very best for all of you. There is something for everybody. I was just given the wonderful news yesterday of being the new campus resource officer for Middlesex. And so that is yet another testament as to the path that you can take going into this career. There's something for everybody. And so I encourage you all. I'm happy that you are here with us. I thank you, and I wish you the absolute best of luck, and I hope to see you in the uniform soon. Thank you.
Great, thank you. What we're going to do now, we're going to do it a little differently. If people have questions, we're just going to ask you to unmute, or I'm going to go through and ask people to unmute now. So if you do have questions, you can easily ask. Does anybody, instead of writing them in the chat, does anybody have any questions? Oh, yep, Stacy.
So that link that was sent, will that tell you how long you have to run the 1.5 miles, the 300 meters, the push-ups and the sit-ups? Will it tell you?
I'm going to refer to Officer Marshall. Do you know if it's detailed in there what the times are?
Oh,
I think somebody just chatted that.
Page 16.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just
Thank you, Frederic.
Yeah, I just sent that out to the thing. So it's that's that health and wellness prep guide for the academy. And I think like Officer Andy said, just getting it done now, like even for, it doesn't matter what career, and you know, it's good for your, there's an association between your physical health and your mental health, right? Like there's a huge correlation there. But yeah, you should be able to see those guidelines there. It gives you some tips and stuff like that. But even if it's like, you look at that, like they have those like 5Ks, like couch to 5K or something, crawl, just think about like crawl, walk, run, right? Just get out, stop walking in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Then as the weather gets nice, start jogging a little bit, and you know, running will help you, doing some push-ups and stuff like that. You don't have to own a big gym membership. You can do a lot of that body weight stuff on your own.
Anybody else?
I do have a question. So for the test, I got it's like a practice test. that they offer in this, it's called Maraham Counseling. Have you heard about that?
What's the count? What's the
It's
counseling?
Maraham Counseling.
I'm not familiar. Officer Marshall?
It's
Oh,
actually.
Hanrahan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maraham.
Yeah.
There you
Hanrahan.
go.
Yes,
Yes,
he's actually the
very
person. Yeah, he's the person that we hired last time and that we would hire this time to do the
Oh.
prep.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I took one of the preps and then the practice exam. It's very helpful to be able to actually get a better score on the exam. It's a
Oh,
little
that's
bit of
great.
practice.
That's
So it's a
great.
very tool. If somebody needs help on that, that's definitely a good tool to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes too, just to kind of go back to that, is that Nicole?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, and again, it's sometimes just even for some of you guys that are taking the exam, it's just trying to like practicing it a little bit will help with like your anxiety or your stress. 'Cause some of you guys, they're really not hard questions. It's just sometimes like you get nervous and you get yourself all jammed up and you just, you might not answer. So doing some of those practice exams will help you put yourself on a timer, not on a timer, and just see how you can respond and like that. But if you take your time, they say it's a very general test, but if you take your time, just try to think thoroughly and how you can, whether you're going to cross off some answers and you think these are your best two. The biggest thing is some people, which on a multiple choice, you never want to leave an answer blank, right? If you have a multiple choice, you have a chance at 4 chances. So you want to, get through the ones that and then maybe come back and, start to work those through. So even necessarily talking with somebody, a friend, a family relative that has that does well testing, that can also help you sometimes too, because sometimes just, game day, people just don't perform. You just have a bad day. That can happen. So, but yeah, that Hanrahan, I think he's a captain, and he does a good job. So that will work if you keep doing that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah. How long is the civil service exam good for? Is it 2 years?
That's new, actually. And I don't know if Mike or Chief, if you want to, I think it's is it starting with this exam? Is it every year now? I'm sorry, you're muted. Hold on, sorry.
It historically has been 2 years. If it has changed to every year, I don't know that.
There you go.
Yes, under the new bill that they passed at the State House, it should affect this exam, which means that the list should only be good for 2 years. 1 year as opposed to 2 years. So again, there'll be more chances of people to come up and take the exam. So this is new to us. Through my entire career, it's always been 2 years. So if you didn't get a crack at it on the first hire, because like Officer Marshall said, depending on funding, especially on this particular climate, we're the 4th largest police department in the Commonwealth. We try to run in the area of 250 officers, but considering budget restraints right now with COVID and everything else going on, we're struggling to keep those numbers up around there. But every year it's usually in the area of at least 10, sometimes 12, sometimes 7, depends on the particular year, the openings. And but unfortunately, the last 2 classes came down to that, and also the funding. But the city manager is committed to me. He knows how important it is that we keep our ranks up. So I would definitely work hard and get on that list, and you have a good shot at getting on, especially from the city. And if I can just touch on that for a second, Mary Ann, about the city.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is that, what's very important here, I've done this job now for over 32 years, is that when we talk about people in Lowell becoming police officers, it's very important that not only do they reflect the community in appearance, but more importantly, that they reflect the community in life experiences. That they've been in the city and they know what it's like to grow up in the city, and they know the challenges of whether it's living in a home with a single mom or a single dad, or not having any parents, or having both parents, but just be able to grow up in the city and go to school with different people and learn how to communicate, learn how to get along. and then all of a sudden now you're put in a position to help them as a police officer, is really what's, I think, wrong in a lot of places in this country. And we try to be better here in Lowell. We have for years. And we want people to reflect our community, our police department, and our values. So I really hope that you guys take this stuff serious and you get on board. It's a very rewarding career, even though the climate is probably the toughest it's ever been. But you know what? Like anything else, we'll fight our way through this. We'll show them who we are at the end, and we'll shine. We can't do that without people like you. So again, I really wish you the best of luck. And if you need any help from us, you reach out. We're here for you. We want to make sure you guys succeed because we need you guys. All right. So thank you, Mary, for that.
Yep. Thank you, Chief. I do want to mention, so if people think of questions after today, you do have that police recruiting email. You can always send an email to that email address, and someone will respond back with an answer. But if you think of something once we hang up today or next week or whatnot, feel free to reach out and ask a question. But does anybody have any follow-up questions right now? No? All right, great. Well, thank you very much for participating. We appreciate it, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.